Taoiseach, we've a housing crisis now for more than a decade. It's a social catastrophe driven by the political choices made by Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil in that time. The situation is especially acute for our young people, for public services and for business, and it's crystal clear that government doesn't appreciate the scale of the challenge. What's needed is a major step change from government to deal with the crisis. The measures you announced today see Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil continue to tinker around the edges of this emergency. Your big idea? To hand private developers €1 billion of public money, with absolutely no detail. Back of the envelope, threadbare stuff. And worse still, Taoiseach, no guarantee that it will deliver genuinely affordable homes to rent or buy. And not one extra cent for local authorities or approved housing bodies. Let me be very clear. We need private builders building homes that ordinary people can afford to buy. But government over-reliance on the private sector is not the answer. The answer to the housing crisis, the game-changing answer, is for the state to intervene directly to build thousands of homes on public land. What we need is for government to initiate a massive scaling up in affordable and social housing. What we get is a government scrambling about, clutching at straws, trying to save a failed housing plan, doubling down on failure. Rents are extortionate, house prices are through the roof, and rising mortgage interest rates puts the possibility of buying a home beyond the reach of so many first-time buyers. Indeed, Taoiseach, the only defining decision that you have taken at a time when people struggle to put a roof over their head is to lift the eviction ban. And you still can't answer the question, where are people to go? I want to tell you about one of these people, Taoiseach, a woman that I'm dealing directly with. Her name is Jasmine Graham. She's a retail worker and the mother of 2 young children. The family have been evicted and they now share one small bedroom in a B&B. She searched desperately for an alternative place to live, but to no avail. In fact, the council asked her if she had a car to sleep in. Jasmine's youngest child is 4.5 and has been waiting 3 years for a diagnosis for autism. He finds it really hard to cope in a cramped space, and her other son, who's 9, is suffering stomach pains from anxiety. Jasmine says it's hard for her, but she says it's especially hard for the boys. She tries to stay strong for them. I've no other choice, she says. Iniu fecamid an rialtas ag athjarvig flan tihiachta tepa. Tá sé an réitach mí ceart. Tá ahrú ó bhun ag tastal. Ní mór ag an stás idir gáhála dhéanamh le méadú ulmhór tithe phrais réasúnta agus tihiacht sosialta. Taoiseach, your decision to subsidise private developers to the tune of €1 billion is simply the wrong call. It will not solve the housing crisis. So what do you say today to Jasmine and to so many other families who can't find a place to live? Where are they to go? And when will Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil finally learn the lesson that what we need is a massive scaling up of affordable and social housing, that we need the state to intervene to build thousands of homes on public land?
Thanks, Deputy. Housing for All, which is the government's housing plan, has had a really good start. At the moment, we're seeing about 300, 400 people buying their first home every week. That's the highest number since the Celtic Tiger period, and that gives me a lot of hope and a lot of confidence into the future that we're going to be able to turn the tide on home ownership. 30,000 new homes were built last year. We expect a similar number to be built last year. That's more than in over a decade. And we are building public housing. We built more social housing last year than any year since the 1970s. More than Sinn Féin has ever built in Northern Ireland, and we're going to build more again this year, and that's our commitment. So we're doing all of those things. And after a slowdown last year in commencements, we're now seeing in the last 3 months commencements bouncing back, the number of new homes being started increasing again, which I imagine is a matter of concern for you. We're also likely to meet our overall supply target again this year, with more than 29,000 new homes expected to be built this year, and that doesn't include student accommodation, doesn't include derelict homes being brought back into use. But we need to do more. We understand the scale and depth of the crisis. We understand that people are suffering, and that's why we decided as a government to do more today. And as I've said many times, our mission is to restore the social contract and to make home ownership affordable again. In terms of what we've decided to do today, it flows from the interim advice to the government from the Housing Commission back in February, the Housing Summit that I hosted with Minister Bryan back in January, and also discussions and ideas that have come from the three government parliamentary parties. First of all, it's about reducing the cost of construction, the cost of building a new home. Secondly, it's about increasing the pace at which derelict properties are brought back into use and vacant properties are brought back into use. And it's also about the government co-funding the construction of apartments for affordable rental, for cost rental, which is a new form of public ownership brought into existence by this government. Deputy, your charge is a predictable one, but it's not one that's true. One of the things we announced today is that we're going to increase the grants that we give to people to bring derelict and vacant properties back into use. 50,000 or 70,000. That's not giving money to developers, Deputy. That's giving money to young people and not so young people to bring a vacant property back into use so they can live in it, or in some cases rent it out. And I can't believe that Sinn Féin is against that. You shouldn't be against that. You should be supporting us on that. And another decision that we've made, Deputy, today is to waive development levies for a year. And that's designed to stimulate construction and bring forward construction. Among the beneficiaries who will benefit from that is people up and down urban and rural Ireland who are building their own home. And I can't believe Sinn Féin is against those people, as you appear to be today. And when it comes to removing the development levies for schemes, the effect of that, Deputy, is that what is public infrastructure, footpaths, roads, community centres, playgrounds, open spaces, instead of the cost of that being put on the developer and therefore the home purchaser, we're socialising the cost of that. We're saying this is a public good, this is public infrastructure, and we're going to pay for it out of taxes because we can afford to do so. And it's remarkable that a party that claims to be what you claim to be could be against all those things.
So, of course, the removal of the development levies is a viability measure. It carries with it no guarantee of a reduction in cost to the end buyer. In other words, it does absolutely nothing in terms of the affordability dilemma. But Taoiseach, I don't know whether to be more taken aback by your sense of self-congratulation or the obvious inertia in which you wallow at this point in time. Where I come from, Housing for All is more popularly known as Housing for No One, because that's the experience of people out on the ground. You've set targets that are too low, you don't even meet them. You've sky-high house costs, sky-high rent, and today you come forward with a whole fanfare and your big idea. Well, your big idea is actually a very, very small idea, which is not going to have the required impact to ensure that people can actually access homes and access them at an affordable level. You clearly have no answer for Jasmine or other families as to where they might go. Can I ask you, Taoiseach, why no additional money for local authorities and approved housing bodies in your big idea today?